Hi, this is Mike Rankin with Relational Intelligence, and one of the things that we love to do is talk about, especially for young people coming into the workforce, what are some tips and tricks and some of the experiences that we all have in the community as we go through these ages. And so today I have with me John Rankin. Hey, John, how are you?
Pretty good. How are you doing?
Doing great. Welcome. John, so tell me, you're a recent graduate of UC Santa Barbara. When did you finish school?
I graduated June of 22.
Right. Okay. So June of 22, and tell me a little bit about the job hunt. So you're working now for JLL and commercial real estate.
Yep.
But for those that are maybe in school and they're sophomores or juniors or seniors, share a little bit about your saga and any advice you would have to somebody coming to you asking, hey, how do I get employed?
I mean, first off, it's not like you gotta have to know exactly what you want to do. I didn't really have an idea until, I don't know, probably freshman year. Then you really kind of just start to narrow down ways to get there. And what I would do is I ended up coming home quite a bit, just meeting with people in the industry. And I guess we had just lost not league finals, but we had just lost in our conference tournament.
For water polo.
Yeah. And I had actually just gone to the Wild Goose and met my buddy Frank, who I hadn't planned on meeting. And he was like, you want to get into commercial real estate, right? And I was like, yeah, I do. He was like, I've got a guy here who's, pretty high up. I'd love for you to meet him. And so we drank a beer together. I ended up asking for 3 to 5 more contacts, just guys that he could, I asked for a coffee meeting later that weekend. And he agreed, so we got coffee. I kind of just asked, what do you do? Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about commercial real estate. I didn't know how to, I really didn't know anything. And so I was just asking him questions, what do you do? How do you get into it? How did you get into it? What's your day-to-day? And, at the end of the conversation, I asked for 3 to 5 more people that I could talk to, people who he thinks would be worth it to talk to. And so from then I just, reached out to them.
So let me stop you there just for a second, because I think that, saying that you asked for a coffee meeting, I think a lot of us, we think that, oh, well, they don't want to talk to me, or maybe we have some self-doubt, or we have some reluctance of asking for that coffee meeting. How did you kind of push through that? I mean, I assume you were having some of those thoughts as well.
I was definitely
What does this guy
thinking,
want to talk to me for?
Yeah, that's all throughout the coffee meeting. I was like, he doesn't care. He doesn't want to talk to me. But the reality of it is these guys, they love helping. Mm-hmm. And They have been in the same shoes that I've been in. They have all been looking for jobs at some point in their life. Mm-hmm. It's not like you're just given a job. But
I would say too, that from my perspective in my generation, I know that the men and women who are in their 40s and 50s, looking at the youth coming up, we all want to help. We're simply a phone call or a text away. And so I think my words of advice would be to others that even if you perhaps don't feel like you have a strong network either through friends or family, it is probably stronger than you think. And if you reach out to people and then and ask for whether it's a coffee meeting or something like that is really, really powerful. And then the second thing that you did, which I think is really important, is then you asked for referrals to 2 or 3 or 4 more people, and it's kind of like expanding that network, right? And so then were you successful? Were you able to have some of those meetings as well? And what'd you yield from that?
I reached out to several people, and I met with Brad Neglia, mm-hmm. who, we know very well. But he recommended that I keep a spreadsheet of everybody who I've talked to, which company they worked for, if I called them, if they picked up, how the conversation went. So I ended up just building a spreadsheet of everybody that I had talked to, because in a relationship business, it connecting dots really helps. And so he was just, making a strong point that if you're on a call and someone brings up like someone you may know, or a company that someone you may know works at, you could be like, oh, I talked to so-and-so at this company. They were saying this about this. Like, what do you think about it? And it kind of just, spurs conversation. And I mean, getting over the fear of reaching out to someone, the worst they can do is say no. And there's not, there's no bad phone call. You learn something. And so from every email and every phone call, it's, you learn something.
Yeah. So the fear of what they're going to say is worse than the reality, right?
Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's like, most phone calls, they'll be like, hey, I really appreciate you, reaching out. We don't have any openings right now, but I'll keep you in mind if one does pop up. And so that way, if you want to follow up in like a couple months, you catch them at a good time.
So the networking, pushing past that fear or limiting thought, and then also asking for potential referrals to others.
Yeah.
And then I think also following the advice, like if Brad said put together the spreadsheet, and you put together the spreadsheet, I think that's really really super important.
Yeah.
So then, kind of fast forwarding then into, so you get hired on, you're into the job market.
Yeah.
One of the other things I wanted to talk about was an experience that you and your peers are going through of, dealing with insurance and open enrollment for the first time. And I know the very first time you and I kind of sat down and went through that, but from your perspective, what are some of your lessons learned around that whole experience in getting involved with insurance that you've never really, health insurance specifically, that you've never had to before?
I mean, getting booted off your parents' insurance, it's a bitter pill to swallow, but everyone's got to do it at some point. And it's in the long run, it's helpful for sure. Some things that I have learned is that, I feel like we are fed so many emails, so many spam emails, that honestly, I probably look over a few too many important emails that look like spam. And one of which was my active enrollment email saying, you have X amount of days to actually actively
enroll in your new plans. Right.
And so I had a little bit of a scare, thinking that my health insurance had expired. In reality, we just switched
carriers,
providers.
Right? Yeah, right.
But
when you went to look at your app or whatever
it said
for
expired
your
as of December,
oh my gosh,
December 2023.
Right.
And
that
so
probably sent a shock of panic through you.
I mean, I was just, I was pretty worried. But I mean, really what I learned from that is just don't, you got to pay attention to your email, because your parents aren't going to be taking care of it for you anymore.
Safety net. Yeah. Right. And it is it's a little bit daunting. It's like a foreign language, I mean, you've been studying, real estate since you got hired, and you're not studying insurance. Right. So, I think that's the main takeaway, is make sure that you, obviously look and respond to the emails, but then also reach out, whether it's the human resources department or friends or family or parents or whomever, because everybody's kind of going through it at the same time.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the HR guys are always willing to help.
Yep. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of cover is just around budgeting. We've talked about that, and unfortunately, budgeting it isn't fun. It isn't easy necessarily. But I would say at Relational, when we have 401k participants who call in to us, which they do, and ask all sorts of different financial questions. And I'll start with, often what they may think the issue is, and we'll talk about that. And then invariably, I end up coming back to the budgeting question. Share with me your process around that. And by and large, those that have, there's many, many reasons to end up in credit card debt and other things. But one of them, by and large, the common denominator is people don't have a budget around that and know where they're at. So share with me a little bit, what you've done. Did you use an app or just use an Excel spreadsheet, and what did you learn through the process?
I mean, I've tried several different ways to build a budget, and I've tried Rocket Money. I've tried building an Excel sheet. I've tried just spending less, and honestly, the only way that I was really able to successfully budget, which I can't necessarily say I'm great at budgeting, is to, I learned the hard way. I saw my 2023 expenses and I was like, holy shit, I spent way too much money. I need to sit down and actually build this budget, because if I keep doing this, I'm going to go broke. Mm-hmm. And you end up spending a lot of money on things that you don't think actually add up, like a $25 bar tab. Mm-hmm. They catch up to you, and so
coffees,
exactly,
restaurants,
Starbucks, and so what I ended up having to do is just go through each expense and see what I actually need to spend money on, mm-hmm. And what I can allocate a couple $100 a month to, and what I should just cut out completely. And so eating out was a big one, which I've kind of amended that by starting to meal prep and just hit the grocery store as much as I can. But it's definitely helpful, because you can think about it, spend money now, have fun now, or save up and experience greater things down the line.
Absolutely.
When you can actually afford them.
Yep. We call that deferred gratification, right?
Yeah. And so what I've found is, I'm pretty keen on instant gratification. Mm-hmm. I like feeling good now. Mm-hmm. And
you're not alone, by the way. That is a common human trait.
I wasn't thinking I'm alone. It's just sometimes that can catch up to you. Yeah.
So to sum that all up, we've got networking, pushing past the fear, if you will, or self-limiting thought, and networking to really get jobs, and then obviously paying attention to our open enrollment emails and going through and seeking help where we need to, and budgeting. So I think those are three great concepts to pass on. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.